Hello, hello. You are here once again, 5 Minutes to Freedom with Dave Jose. And today we're going to do a special video where we break down some concerns and ideas that people have when they're first learning to fight. So, when I go and I stand up and I say, hey, we need to give notice to the legislature, we need to give notice to the governor, notice to judges, and let them see that what's being done is wrong, peacefully, in a calm manner. Some people say, well, why would the government ever listen to us? I don't think they'll listen, and they don't care about the law, and they'll never respond, and nothing will ever happen. Well, what I'm going to do is show you guys that most people who say stuff like that never really try. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you myself, somebody who did not go to Yale, somebody who did not go to law school, somebody who doesn't wear suits everywhere. You're going to see me have a communication with a ton of judges. If you notice in the background, a lot of them are going to be nodding their heads, and the head Supreme Court Justice of Arizona is going to show that he understands exactly what I'm saying. Now, even for the people who say, well, what David Jose says is not really logical, is not really the law, is not really going to bring forth any action, what we're going to see is a real life situation where the Supreme Court Justice responds to what I say using a trust argument about how they are supposed to protect the public's rights, individual rights and property, right? And he's going to answer me, and not only is he going to answer, he is going to explain that it's not the judges who try to do their best, it is the legislature. So within a couple of minutes of me speaking to him, we're going to find that he gives a response, shifting blame away from himself and telling on who the real issue is with. And then you're going to hear me confirm, yeah, he's actually right about that. So I want us to listen to this video closely. I'm going to try to turn up the audio as much as I can. Sorry, forgive me, they taped it on a whack device, but it is what it is. Let's listen.
You are the best of the best, and that's why you're here. When we look in the Constitution of Arizona, we realize that there is a trust indenture. We realize that the people are granting power to our officials. One thing that is very important in the Declaration of Rights is that we must understand that we have to frequently go back to fundamental principles. Because if we don't do that, we will lose a free government. And so when we look at this situation that's happening with DCS, because you are the best of the best, the people trust you with the power that you derive from them to protect them from private corporations, from enterprises, from federal corporations that come in and collude.
Now, guys, just realize I just made some bold claims. I said they're supposed to protect us from private entities, federal programs, and people who are colluding, right? Now, that's some bold stuff. So I'm letting him know that I realize that DCS or CPS in Arizona is a private entity, is working in a federal program that is not an actual law, and I'm letting him see what I know. So if I was saying something crazy, would he not check me for calling them private and saying that they're not government? I actually say I don't want to call them government because they're not.
I don't even want to say with the state because the DCS is a private organization, it's not the state. But they are colluding and they're taking children for a profit. And that's one thing that is not being looked at. You can't have a price tag on a child, have a private business do it, and everybody say, hey, as public officials, we don't know what's going on. Because I believe this ARS Section 25 that tells us that part of the money that DCS is taking, they are donating it to the general fund. So there's a trust indenture that the judges have. And it is the judges that are supposed to protect the rights of the people in the Constitution. So you can't be under the Constitution at one time and then working privately with the business on the other end under Title 4E with a contract. So I'm giving due notice so that you can give due care. Because if we don't give you notice and tell you that we know that this is outside of your trust indenture, then you may not know. when you look at what's happening, there is no separation of powers because there is a side business that is being done or used against the people to make funds. But you still have the trust and interest you have with the people. So there's a big conflict of interest there. And we need to solve it and fix it. You are the best of the best, so we come to you to plead with you humbly for you to do the right thing, for you to protect the people because that's part of your trust. So we hire you to take care of our property and to protect us. And so if people are allowed to go outside of the trust indenture, families get hurt. And so I had a case I don't even want to talk about, but
Mr. Mayor, you're acting
thank you, sir.
Thank you. And members of the public, thank you again for your comments. I want to emphasize that this body, judicial council, doesn't have any authority in particular cases. They can't intervene in particular cases. And while I understand how intensely people feel about the welfare of their children and their role as parents, you also should understand that the powers of DCS and the oversight of DCS are largely determined by statute.
Now, notice real quick, he said majority of what DCS is doing is determined by statute. He's telling on the legislature and letting it be known that it's not common law where actual judges are working, but it's actually statutory, which means it's all administrative business, and I'll prove it. Black's Law 5, common law. We only need the front part of this. As distinguished from law created by the enactment of legislatures, right? So what I want you to notice, the legislature don't write common law. Now, if the legislature doesn't write common law, should they be adopting all these people's kids out that they took? Is this right? Is this law? Black's Law 5, adoption, legal process pursuant to state statute, just like he said, in which a child's legal rights and duties towards his natural parents are terminated and similar rights and duties towards his adoptive parents are substituted to take into one's family the child of another and give him or her the rights, privileges, and duties of a child and heir. The procedure is entirely statutory and has no historical basis in the common law. Okay, guys, now that I made this trusted argument, I showed you guys that there's no adoption in the common law, which is what they're doing to people's kids. There's also no ability to take someone's kids if there's no proof of you killing someone, raping someone, doing something crazy. But these CPS courts are taking kids against the common law of the land. Now, some of you might say, well, there is no common law. There is no common law of the land. I don't believe that argument. Well, I'm going to tell you that the Superior Court, Supreme Court, and the Appeals Court are to all be courts of record. Courts of record move by the common law, and we just saw that the legislature doesn't write common law. So if the legislature doesn't write common law, but the state statutes to take kids are all coming from the statutes, doesn't that mean that the courts and the legislature are not using common law to take the kids? Therefore, they are using something outside the law and foreign to our law? This is why he answers the way that he does.
The matters the legislature is determining. The judges do the best they can deciding cases within the law based on the facts that appear before them. So I want you to understand that while we listen to your concerns, if you're concerned about something like changing whether the statute says that there was juries in dependency cases, that's not something within the authority of this council.
Is it special law, though, sir? If I may ask really quick, is it special law that they're using, or is it general law that they're using?
The authority of DCS is a process involved in dependency cases. It's largely dictated by general laws within the Arizona Revised Code.
Family court should have juries.
Yes. And if that's a policy position that you wish to advance, it's the legislature who should speak to.
Now notice once again, guys, he says if that is a policy change, he didn't say law change, policy change you want to make, that would be held within the legislature. The legislature does not write law over people's rights. They do not deal with the common law. They deal with statutory business administrative bylaws for the state and those below them. They do not control the people. They do not have the power to control the people. They can't even write legislation which would abrogate your rights, Miranda versus Arizona, as I showed you guys. So we see here clearly that he's saying, look, if you want juries in CPS tribunals, that's a legislative policy. It has nothing to do with the court. Why? Because Arizona Constitution guarantees that you get a jury. So what we're dealing with, guys, are political arguments that have nothing to do with your rights. CPS cannot take your kids. They cannot write a judicial determination to take your kids. All these people have been working together, committing treason against the people, and they were caught, and it made him tell. You be the judge.
And that's my point. This body has no authority on that decision.
That is actually, that's correct.